Good afternoon, and welcome to this week's edition of It Could Be You. I'm your host, Jon S., and despite rumors to the contrary, I'm still alive and kicking, and I am once again live from the KABF studio, which you have heard me say so many times, but what the heck, I'm going to say it again. We are just outside what I defiantly describe as just outside the downtown part of downtown Little Rock. I have got a couple of wonderful people in the studio with me for this week's conversation. One, it's kind of an unusual situation. She's been on the program before, but in this instance, she's another newbie. And there is a bona fide newbie sitting right alongside her, and we are going to be having our conversation get started just in a moment. But I do want to say that the program is, as always, dedicated to getting accurate information out to people who need such information. Now, I have opened up the phone line to talk with the folks who this week are representing Disability Rights Arkansas. Again, Disability Rights Arkansas. Our phone line is open, 501-433-0088. But I want to issue my standard, if you will, caution. Call it a warning if you prefer. But since this mission, the mission of this particular program, is to make sure that accurate information goes out to all of the listeners, anyone who wants to call in, please, you better have, a bona fide question, a brief story to share. And you would also, whenever, wherever, however possible and doable, the warning is you better have the research to support what you're talking about. This is to share information. This is not a place just to come on and go screaming about no, you have information that you want to share, okay, you better doggone well have the research to support what you're talking about. The folks from groups like Disability Rights Arkansas, they have the research, the independently verified, peer-reviewed, fact-driven research. And I want to hold that standard to all the groups that are here and extend that standard, that bar, if you will. I'm setting the bar maybe low for some individuals, high for others, but the bar is set. Have research, peer-reviewed, fact-driven research to support your views, to motivate your question. 433-0088. It could be you, homeless. It could be you, hungry. Or with Disability Rights Arkansas sitting in the studio with me now, it could be you, or it could be a member of your family, someone you know, who is experiencing, enduring, if you prefer, a disability. You've heard me say so many times, I'm going to say it again, that you cannot have like a one-size-fits-all approach. And the same goes in looking at, talking about, coming to terms with a disability. There is more than one kind, and more than a few disabilities are not physically visible. But that doesn't mean that they're no less a situation than are, say, more physically visible disabilities. That's going to be one of the areas that we're going to be talking about, and I want to welcome Well, first of all, I want the sort of the hybrid return visitor newbie to start things off by reminding me, getting me over my selective amnesia as to who you are.
So, as Jon said before, you may have heard me on this show with the Center for Arkansas Legal Services, but now I'm with Disability Rights Arkansas. My name is Amber Quaid, and I am the Director of Communications.
All right. And to the true new person here, the true person making her debut.
Hi guys, my name is Jamie Gardner, and I am the Marketing Specialist with Disability Rights Arkansas.
All right. As always, let's get the basic information out right from the get-go. The best ways to get in touch with Disability Rights Arkansas.
Yeah, so you guys can give us a call at 501-296-1175 or toll free at 800-482-1174. Again, that you can call us at 501-296-1175 or toll free at 800-482-1174.
Now, I know you've got an office right here in the downtown area. Is the office open, like, say, for someone who wants to walk in and meet with someone and maybe bring your office attention to a particular need, a particular situation?
Yeah, absolutely. You can visit us at 400 West Capitol Avenue, Suite 1200 in Little Rock.
Days and times?
Yeah, we are open from 8:30 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Gotcha. And are there other ways that anyone out there can get in touch with your office?
Absolutely. You can also find us on our website at www.disabilityrightsar.org.
Again,
we are on www.disabilityrightsar.org, and we are also on social media as well, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok.
Gotcha. Now, is there, before we go any further, is there any, like, say, other website that you might want to let people know about? People who might themselves be experiencing disability, or maybe the caregiver of someone who's disabled. Is there any additional, at the very least, website information that you'd like to say, okay, talk to us, and here are some other resources?
As always, you can look at the national entity for us. That's NDRN. So they can go to ndrn.org. That's the National Disability Rights Network. That's ndrn.org. Also, depending on your situation, it's best to call our intake worker. They can take up to 48 hours to get back to you, but you can call us at 501-296-1775, and you can put your comment and your request there, and they will get back to you. They will, if you're unsure if you should call us, give us a call anyway, and then they'll let you know what we can and can't do. They'll give you resources that they can and other websites that you need to research. That number again is 501-296-1775.
Now, so many of the organizations that grace, it could be you, with their presence, their doors are pretty well open for, first of all, people who would like to volunteer. Is that the case? Is that still the case as far as your organization is concerned?
So as it concerns us, you can volunteer with our board or our PAC, which is the PAMI Advisory Council. And of course, PAMI it's its own acronym in itself, but the last two letters are the most important. It's a focus on mental issues, mental health issues. So if you want to volunteer with us, you can go on our website at disabilityrightsar.org, and you can go look at our board and our PAC. Our applications are on there. You can click the button. It'll describe a little bit about our board. But if you really want to advocate and be a part of the disability conversation, that is the best way you can help us at this time.
Now, help comes also in the form of donations. Is that something that Disability Rights Arkansas is also welcoming?
Absolutely. Did you want to talk about that a little bit, Jamie?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So on our website at www.disabilityrightsar.org, we do have a place where you can donate to us via PayPal. We also work with the Kroger Communities Program as well, so you can round up your grocery purchase, and that extra change will come to us.
And 501c3 does apply to?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, if a person wanted to, it doesn't have maybe the cash to donate, but just for the record, they have something else, office supplies, voucher cards for gasoline or anything like that. Would that be something that your office, your organization would welcome?
So we often have like fundraising events. We have online silent auctions. We welcome anything that'll help, like be prizes to give away for these events to raise money. I know gas cards, we have another organization that we work with that we can share those with. So it all depends on what the donation is. We ask you to either call that number, that 501-296-1775 number, or you can email us at media@disabilityrightsar.org.
Gotcha.
And then if you have any questions about the donation, we'll be happy to answer any questions through that portal.
Another thing that so many organizations are working towards, are achieving, and that is letting people know that you're not just, say, the proverbial shot in the dark, that you are reaching out, you are establishing contacts, you are establishing alliances, partnerships, however you want to describe it, with a lot of other, if you will, like-minded organizations. Okay, is there any new group out there that you'd like to give a shout out to, or as a partner, as an ally, or are there groups in maybe different parts of the state that you'd like to reach out to, that you'd like to hear from, and have them come in and join you?
So we always love when people partner with us. We love having those conversations, those connections, and doing those events. There are a couple of groups I would like to shout out. One is the DD Network.
Yeah, so the DD Network is called the Developmental Disabilities Network, and we are comprised of DRA ourselves, the Governor's Council on Disabilities, and U of A's Inclusive Partners for Communities.
Okay.
And then I would also like to shout out the Arts Council. We're about to do an event with them. It's a presentation on accessibility. So we thank them for putting all the extra effort in and doing the time and connecting with us to have this to reach more communities out there.
Well, that goes straight into, of course, the other point about basic information. Some of these events that you talked about, a couple of them, but are there any other upcoming events, whether it's going to be a fundraiser, a meet and greet, information exchange, anything like that, that you would like the listeners to be aware of, and how can they find out more information about these events?
So most of the events we partner with people in the community. So we have like the Y Mountain Daffodil Festival that's currently going on. You can visit us there this weekend. We have Munchin on Main, which is Morrilton, that is coming up on March 22nd. We have a bunch of listening sessions that we're doing. Currently, we'll be in West Helena on the 27th, Mountain View on the 29th. We'll be in Warren on April 8th, in Cabot on April 12th, in Batesville on April 24th. Those are where you actually get to come and sit down with us and the whole DD network and just talk about anything you want to talk about that relates to disabilities and how we can help our community.
And once again, this is going to be that you're reaching out to people who are with disabilities.
Correct.
They're caregivers, family members, and so on. Who else would you like to see at and participate in, like these informational sessions?
Anybody who advocates for people with disabilities, anybody who wants to be part of the conversation. We would love for elected officials to come. Well, the listening sessions are actually more for the public. We want to hear from the public. But anybody who is in the disability world and wants to have a conversation and really advocate for people with disabilities, and we want people with disabilities to be part of the conversation so we know how we can best serve them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But just so I can interject, I have a few more. We're busy in the next few months, but
so I saw.
Well, we want to make sure we hit a lot of areas in Arkansas. So on April 5th, we're going to be in Warren at the Forge River Outdoor Festival, and then on April 11th in Little Rock. In Cabot this year, we'll be at the Brain Injury Survivors Day. And then the big one that gets people is the 12th Annual Disability Resource Expo, which will be in Cabot on April 12th.
Now,
so follow our social media if you want to know where we're at and what's going on with our outreach.
Well, we're down here in Magnolia. We're down here in El Dorado. We're down here in DeQueen, that area. And we sure would love to have you come down and talk to us. Can we schedule something with you?
Absolutely. If you actually go on our website again, the disabilityrightsar.org, we can do trainings for you. We can do presentations. If there's an event, if there's a partner there that wants to do an event with us, we're more than happy to go.
Or a listening session.
Well, the listening session is mainly hosted by the GCDD, the Government's Council on Developmental Disabilities. So you would need to contact them, but we're always happy to pass that word along. We were actually just in the southern areas, so if anybody missed us, please reach out at that on that media email and at the 501-296-1775 number, and we'll do our best to connect with you. Again, we love connecting and being part of our community and sharing what we do and the resources, so please reach out.
Okay, now let's work on getting well, maybe stick with the basic information and just make sure that a lot of people walk away, or when they get up after this program is over, they've gotten more information and a better understanding of Disability Rights Arkansas. So let's kind of continue on with this basic area, and it strikes me that one of the really good starting points would be what maybe has come up in the news over the past weeks and days and so on, and everybody is hearing about maybe what's this ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, okay, for the purpose of clarification, for the purpose of making sure the listeners know, okay, what is the ADA?
Right, yeah, absolutely. So the ADA is a federal law that was signed in 1990, so only 35 years ago, so it's still fairly new. And this federal law protects people with disabilities from discrimination. It guarantees equal opportunities in employment, transportation, public accommodations, communications, and also with your state and local governments.
Now, this is, okay, you say federal. Now, again, for the record, does the state of Arkansas have like its own equivalent of the ADA, or does the federal law basically take care of everything?
Right, yeah, so the federal law applies to all U.S. states and territories.
Okay. With that in mind, am I correct in jumping to the conclusion that the Americans with Disabilities Act was one of, if not really the main reason why Disability Rights Arkansas was created?
So yes, well, what happened? Well, you want to talk about the Geraldo incident first, and then I'll kind of get a little. Got to get some foundation.
Yeah. So just for like a little background context. So in 1972, there was a journalist named Geraldo Rivera, and you might have heard of him a little bit. He did a big expose piece on Willowbrook, and Willowbrook State for Institution on Staten Island. It was a facility that housed around 6,000 people with disabilities. And he was one of the first to uncover the true horrible and inhumane practices that were going on in there. So
we're talking what? Lack of service,
living conditions, medical procedures, and experiments on disabled children and adults.
We're talking maybe a variation, an updated variation on what the experiments that were made on the at Tuskegee back in the 1920s, 1930s.
Yeah, so in some of the early days of Willowbrook, they actually experimented on hepatitis vaccinations and hepatitis medical procedures and variants on some of the people that were living in that facility. And so as a result of that, as well as the living conditions of people just not being fed, medicated, interacted with, the facility was only built to originally house about 3,000 people, and they managed to have about 6,000 people living in there.
A little bit of, and I'm going to say this kind of as a dirty phrase, profit motive?
Not for sure on the for-profit side, since it was technically run by the state, but in terms of just it being severely understaffed
and overwhelmed,
and very overwhelmed, some of the doctors decided to be whistleblowers in that and asked Geraldo to come out and do a full-on investigation, and it was actually aired on TV, and it got so much national attention that this basically forever changed the manner of how they started treating people with disabilities in institutions. And so thankfully to his investigations, along with multiple other journalists, this resulted in the federal law of the Civil Rights Act of Institutionalized Persons in 1980. And that kind of leads into our agency being formed and other protection and advocacy agencies being started in other states as well.
So I could kind of jump to the conclusion, and please correct me if I get this wrong, that Disability Rights Arkansas, in part, has been set up to make people in Arkansas, for sure, more aware that there are people with disabilities, and it's not just, say, from one type or one category of disability.
Oh, absolutely.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, this whole experience with Geraldo actually enacted the whole protection and advocacy network, which you'll hear me refer to as P&A. And we are the designated P&A for Arkansas. Every state has at least one disability P&A that works for them. We all work under grants. Ours is done with several federal grants. We work currently with 9 different federal grants. I can talk a little bit more about those if you want, but our purpose is basically to advocate for and protect the civil rights of people with disabilities.
Okay, now, all right, with that in mind, who, in fact, is eligible for getting help with Disability Rights Arkansas?
So the basic way to say it is any Arkansan with a disability.
For example.
So one of the things, I was trying to pull, my brain is not thinking of a great example right now.
Physical disability.
Yes.
Okay, an amputated leg, or both legs have been amputated.
Yes.
Wheelchair bound.
So, but those are great instances to talk about, but technically, based on our priorities, anybody with a disability in Arkansas can call us.
Physical
or mental.
Emotional.
Yep, can give us a call. But then based on our priorities determines whether we can help people or not. So that's where our intake kind of comes in, gives those resources and referrals if we can't help. But then basically any Arkansan with a disability.
No matter
and then
the
we start
age,
there.
no matter the
Age,
gender,
race,
no matter the...
gender, you name it.
Again, say that again.
Okay. Any Arkansan with a disability, regardless of age, race, nationality, as long as you're in Arkansas, you can call.
Okay. Now, person who is disabled, does your organization include, say, help, resources, and so on, say, for the caregivers of someone who is disabled, the family member, let's say?
Absolutely. Our focus, though, is on the person with the disability, but we provide information and supports to our whole community. So if anyone's just looking for a resource, of course, again, our website, that disabilityrightsar.org, has a slew of information for you.
Well, let me throw this hypothetical at you. Okay. My spouse has had a debilitating stroke and is bedridden. I've been the only person to provide care, access. I am worn out. What can you tell me about getting help?
You can take it, yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So anybody, in that situation, can definitely reach out and give us a call. And so depending on if that individual who has suffered from that stroke is needing help getting access to services via Medicaid, or needing help with their job, or getting employment accommodations, that kind of thing, they can reach out to us and we can assess them. And if we can't, we have a huge list of other resources and organizations, also caregiver organizations that we can partner with as well, to help that caregiver and that person with the stroke to have additional help that they need. Okay,
well, another hypothetical for you. I'm calling in. I'm a school principal, or maybe I'm the school nurse, whatever. And we've got a small school up in Poinsett County, let's say. And for the first time in Lord knows how long, we're going to have a student who is wheelchair bound coming into our school. How can I be sure that we won't have any issues, any difficulties? Can Disability Rights Arkansas come up and talk to me, talk to the parents directly, talk to the students and so on, and look over our facilities and let us know if we are compliant, if we are up to date on everything?
First, that's a little bit a tricky question. There are several parts to that, but of course I'd always say the school should talk to their legal advisory, whoever helps them with that issue, to make sure, because again, these are federal. You could reach out to us, and if we have the capacity, we're always more than welcome to talk about the options we can provide for the school, because again, we focus on the student, but part of that is helping the student, so that would be a discussion. And then we always offer presentations and trainings to individuals, so that way they can basically know more, learn more, do more. That's why I love that Arts Council presentation, because that's we're doing that for the Arts Council. So yes, we're more than happy to always have conversations with anybody.
I hate to say this, we were already at the bottom of the hour, and the powers that be, you've heard me say this so often, but it happens every week, that we've got to take a little bit of a pause and share some information. You are listening to this week's It Could Be You with the wonderful folks from Disability Rights Arkansas here. I'm your host, Jon S. I want you to listen to these bits of information, and while you're listening, you know we're going to be coming back for the second half of the program, so be patient. Jon S. back with you to start the second half of today's It Could Be You. I am once again going to ask my guests to introduce themselves, and again to give maybe the top two best ways to get in touch with Disabilities Rights Arkansas, and I am going to point the non-accusing finger of fate at the new kid, the true newbie.
Hi guys, my name is Jamie Gardner. I am the marketing specialist with Disability Rights Arkansas, and you guys can give us a call at 501-296-1175. That again is 501-296-1175, or you can reach out to us at our website, which is disabilityrightsar.org, and again, that is disabilityrightsar.org.
Okay. All right. And Amber Quaid. I had a flash of genius. I remembered the name, Amber Quaid.
So I'm Amber Quaid with Disability Rights Arkansas, and I'm the Director of Communications, and you can reach out to us via email. That's media@disabilityrightsar.org, or you can actually go to our website that Jamie mentioned, the disabilityrightsar.org, and sign up for our newsletter.
Okay. Now, before going any further, I do want to remind everyone our phone line is open, so if you have a question or briefly a story to share regarding a person who's disabled, whether it's you or a family member, our direct studio line is 501-433-0088. Also, for the purpose of full disclosure, your old lovable host right here, yes, I am disabled. I am considered disabled. So if there's maybe a little bit of extra in what I'm doing here today, now you know why. Okay, let's go along even further with sharing a lot of good, solid, basic information about Disability Rights Arkansas in prepping for today's program. You kind of woke me up on a couple of things that I was under maybe the initial impression that y'all were just doing pretty well everything on behalf of someone or the caregiver of someone who is disabled, but that is really not the case. There are, and I'm guessing it's by your charter or by law or whatever, that there are certain things that, yes, you can do, but at the same time, there are certain services, methods, appeal, however you want to describe it, that y'all are just not doing, whether you're not allowed to or whether or not you're in a position to refer someone to a different group. Okay, however, but how about just a quick rundown? Let me throw a couple of these things at you, and yay or nay, and just follow up from there. Okay, like I understand that Disability Rights Arkansas, you are authorized to work in some specific areas, but Disability Rights Arkansas, you cannot offer all possible services. Like, for example, someone calls in and maybe they're getting help. They've got a case manager, let's say from the Department of Health. Okay, that's something that's up to the Department of Health, not Disability Rights Arkansas.
Correct.
Okay, and also something that would fall under the other DHS, job placement. Again, that is something that Disability Rights Arkansas does not do.
So, That one's a little tricky. So the answer is correct and also incorrect. So we help with job placement through our referral programs, such as like Project Search. So we help get the front end set up, and then then we can pass off to, again, our community partners that we love to connect with, so that way they will help them find the job. So it's a teamwork effort.
Okay. Well, now, education. Now, right there. Okay. Well, I brought up that hypothetical about making sure that a school in a rural part of Arkansas is fully compliant. Okay. What else can Disability Rights Arkansas do for someone who is disabled, specifically within education? And is this K through 12 only? Does it include through higher education, or what?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work with elementary, middle school, high school, and then what that looks like after high school as well. So trade school and secondary school as well. And we have a education team, actually. And so if you are needing help, with your IEPs or your 504 plans, if you're not sure that
what are those?
Yeah, so students that are in special education, they typically have a IEP or a 504 plan in place, which allows individual personalized plan. Yes. And so that helps students if they need extra accommodations, such as more test taking time, or they need to have an aide with them in class. And so we can kind of help monitor those if you feel that your student is not receiving those services that they are entitled to.
Gotcha.
But I do want to note, so talking about what we do and what we don't do, we do not go to these IEP or 504 meetings unless it's to address a priority issue for our education team. Most of the time, again, that self-advocacy, we will give you the resources and information to help you, and then when it gets to the more difficult part, that's where we step in.
Now, as far as employment is concerned, okay, and again, correct me if I've gotten this wrong, you're not actually going out job hunting for someone who is disabled, but if there is, like, say, maybe some workforce harassment or difficulty with, say, bathroom accessibility, those are things where you can.
Yes, so we help with the employment accommodations, we help reduce barriers to employment, and then if there's any EEOC claims, we help with those.
EEOC?
Oh, the acronym I knew you were going to ask. Equal Employment Opportunity.
Careers.
Oh, I always forget the last one. I knew you were going to do that to me, but yes.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure everyone has opportunity for employment.
Okay. All right. Now, certainly as far as Arkansas is concerned, and there's a lot of stuff going on regarding access, funding, and so on, but let's bring it up, Medicaid.
Yeah, so we also have a Medicaid team as well on our staff, and so they work really closely. If you or a loved one or a friend is not getting the services through your Medicaid or through your PASS program that you're signed up with.
What is PASS, before going any further?
Yes, so PASS is something specific to Arkansas, but it is a provider-led Arkansas shared savings entity. So if you need somebody to come into the home, let's say like for a certain 12 hours a week or 30 hours a week to help you with certain tasks around the home, any kind of services in the home, such as like occupational therapy or speech therapy services. If you or the person that with the disability is not getting those entitled amount of service hours, or they're trying to cut back your service hours, we can work with you on making sure that you get your full entitled help.
Okay. All right. Now, in that field, is there something that Disability Rights Arkansas cannot?
So I was just gonna jump in there, but just let everyone know we do not fill out Medicaid forms. So that is not something we do. We just provide the access to person-centered, community-based services.
You better repeat that you don't.
We do not fill out Medicaid forms.
Okay. All right. Something else. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm understand as well, a big concern for people with disabilities, physical, emotional, mental, of course, is going to be housing.
Oh, so we do get a lot of housing calls. So we don't do housing per se. You would need to call the Center for Arkansas Legal Services or other such legal aid or other attorneys to help you with those. We only help with accommodations. So again, we do not help with most housing issues. We help with accommodations only.
Okay. For instance, would be someone who is wheelchair bound and they need a ramp built going up, say, to their door. One. Okay. Grab bars in bathrooms. That would be another example.
Yep. Or moving from like a second floor apartment to a first floor apartment to make it accessibility easier.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And is there anything in the cannot do category that the folks need to know about as far as housing is concerned?
Oh, but it basically just think of it as a checklist. We don't do most housing issues. It's only accommodations.
Well,
and even then you have to reach out to us and see if they fall within our grant guidelines.
You just answered my next question. Okay. Now, I might have touched on this, and we might have touched on this, my apologies, when we were talking about housing, but I'm very interested in this two-word phrase that you have here, assistive technology. First of all, what the heck is it? What do you do in grab bars in the bathroom? Would that be assistive technology by any chance, or?
I don't know if that would really fall under that. I'm thinking more along the lines of so like needing an iPad in school to help with certain projects. So if the student needs that iPad, having that accessibility to those on there. I don't know if you have some other ones.
Or, if you're trying to do like any kind of like motorized accessibility, so any kind of motorized wheelchair, motorized scooter, any kind of medical equipment in that regards.
By that technology.
Yeah, so it's technology. And so we partner with a couple of other local agencies such as ICANN here in Little Rock, and so they are a great resource to help, if you're wanting to try out to see before you make the full purchase. They will actually lend equipment to you to try out and see if you like that or not.
Oh, okay. And it could be, just another hypothetical. Okay, one of my uncles in the last years of his life was finding it harder and harder to walk, even to get up out of a chair. And in the last years of his life, he had one of these power lift chairs that would help him actually stand up and then get back down. Would that fall under, just as a hypothetical, would that fall under what could be called assistive technology? Yeah,
absolutely. So anything that can assist somebody with a disability in their daily life, that could be considered assistive technology.
Okay. All right. And something else. And again, this may bring up maybe different responses, different emotions, if you will. Okay, but we're going to get into one where, and it pops up in family law, it pops up in other areas, and we're talking about if, when, the time, the need comes, guardianship.
So guardianship for us, again, I would reach out to your legal aid entity for a guardianship. We're usually in helping make them less restrictive or terminating them.
Such as? Less restrictive.
Yeah. So, for example, we had a client reach out to us within this past year who was in a really bad car accident. And so at that time, his father was placed as his guardian. And at the time, he was severely injured and was in a coma for a few weeks. Once he was medically, okay and was able to go home, his dad would not relinquish his guardianship. And so he reached out to us and our services and our attorneys. We helped him to terminate that guardianship. That way he had control again over, his own life and his own decisions.
Got you. Now, once again, for all of these, if you will, categories, if anyone out there, and it could be the disabled person directly, the family member, the spouse, okay, you have a question. You want to find out if this is something that Disability Rights Arkansas does not do, but you've got the referrals, you've got the resources you can point them in the direction to.
So, again, you would then just need to call our intake line at 501-296-1775. That's 501-296-1775. And our intake specialist will get back to you within 48 hours and either get you an answer, get more, ask you further questions to help develop it, give you resources or referrals.
Okay, and again, if you don't have it, you are prepared to say, okay, we're not able to do this, and if necessary, talk about why you're not able to, but say, okay, these groups, our partners, these are the ones that you need to talk to without any further delay. Here's their contact information.
Oh, absolutely. We always give the people who call in a way forward. We're never going to just say no and close the door. There's always a way forward.
And this same information, the referrals, resources are on the website and social media. Am I correct on that?
Certain specific referrals and stuff, it kind of depends on like a case-by-case basis. And so it's just easier, if somebody were just to call us again at our number at 501-296-1775. That way we can direct them to a more specific resource that they're needing.
And again, you brought up case-by-case basis, and I brought up on so many programs, I think bringing it up again, that one of the key, really important and effective steps is to recognize from the get-go that one of the worst things to do is to approach a one-size-fits-all in saying, okay, you have this disability, you have that disability, so we've got the same response. We got the same solution for you.
There is no one-size-fits-all, especially in the disability community. It's all unique. It's all individualized. People face problems in different ways and barriers in different ways and successes in different ways. So there is never a one-size-fits-all. So that's why we always tell people to call our intake, because we'll be able to then determine based on the conversation how to best assist. But there is not everybody's situation is the same. They're all unique.
Well, doggone it, I am sick and tired of looking after my son. I know the boy just is kind of slow, but I am so tired of looking after him, trying to do everything. So is my wife. Don't you think it would be a better idea if we put him someplace, if we put him into an institution where the folks can really kind of do a better job of looking after him?
So one of the things we don't do, our grants do not allow us to advocate to put individuals into a facility. So that would be something we'd have to refer them to another partner to have that discussion. We're all about, again, the community-based services, case by case, yes. So again, we'd have the conversations about what we do offer and how we can help, and if that is not an option that the parents want to take into consideration, then we refer them to other partners and entities who can have different discussions with them.
Now, let's kind of return, Jamie, to what you were talking about a moment ago. Okay, that case where the young man who was in the coma, okay, and he got in contact with you, got help to kind of restore control. The two-word phrase in prepping for this program, I think, applies here: self-advocacy. Okay, so, and am I correct in jumping to this conclusion? Disability Rights Arkansas is going to help a person with a disability as best, as far, as much as possible to advocate for him or herself whenever doable, whenever feasible, whenever possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a client-driven organization, and we are really, really big on self-advocacy, for people to be able to make their own decisions and for them to be able to make, their own choices and what was best for them.
Now, with that in mind, okay, when it comes to this quote-unquote decision-making, okay, am I correct in saying that that among the clients that you have worked with, that you have served, that once again you have to determine the capability, if you prefer, for the person making his or her own decisions. Okay, again, case by case, circumstance by circumstance.
Yeah, so that's when we tell people to call into our intake, and then we decide, have a conversation there, and then if they want to have additional trainings or information, more than happy to provide them. We had in 2024 the PIP program, which is, I just blanked. in
Partners in
Policy
Policymaking.
Making. Thank you. She's got to help me every time. To where we have individuals come for a 6-month session. They learn about the policy making process. They have projects that they need to do to advance on that. Again, the whole self-advocacy, not only in their personal life, but in lawmaking. This year it's on hold, but we hope to bring it back next year. Again, we talk about those donations and funding. This is where that comes in. But yes, we do different pieces to offer for self-advocacy.
Now, am I correct also in saying that Disability Rights Arkansas is not going to be handling like every single aspect when it comes to self-advocacy? Again, like in so many of these other areas, employment, housing, and so on, there are certain specifics that you can work with, but then there are going to be other specifics that no can do.
Correct, and that's where we do like the referrals and the resources to our community partners. There is a vast network, again, like the Disability Network, that can connect you and help you with a variety of self-advocacy.
Statewide as well as national.
Correct.
Okay.
And just as an additional note, we talk with people throughout the disability community, just about everyday life stuff and the self-advocacy portion. It's on our podcast. It's called Including You. So if people just want to hear a conversation about that and see like kind of how people got through different parts, they're more than welcome to go check out our podcast, Including You.
All right. Now, with all of the information you've been sharing for this week's program, I still hear about, and I've had the displeasure of kind of overhearing people, even in 2025, this person with a disability, I just think that this person, blah, 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 and it goes off, and they're spouting out some sort of blatantly wrong information. Or this person has a physical disability. That means that that person must be also kind of touched in the head. Myths like that. Okay. Would I be correct in saying that that is something that y'all are constantly on the lookout against? That you're also trying to educate people that, hey, misinformation like that does a hell of a lot more harm than good?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, sadly, still in 2025, there are still a lot of ableism comments that are being made on the daily, whether that's, in your communities or on, any kind of media that you consume as well. And so we like to really share highlights in our local communities, to kind of people who are, kind of breaking barriers, if you will. Like last week, we covered a story for a young man who is deaf, and he goes to the Arkansas School for the Deaf, but he is now doing a full scholarship to go play baseball at Arkansas Three Rivers next fall. So advocating that. So just, just because you have a disability doesn't mean that, oh, hey, I can go to college. I can be an athlete in school.
It's not a hindrance.
Correct.
It should not be seen as a hindrance.
Correct.
It should, and seeing this as a hindrance, it should not be imposed on someone who has a disability.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Unfortunately, we've only got a few minutes left, so let me kind of throw my kind of ending catch-all question at the both of you. There's so much more that I was hoping that we would have the chance to talk about, but y'all are, I know, are set to come back again in the future. You took away my pleasure of threatening you. No, but seriously. If y'all had to bring up one more thing, whether it's about Disability Rights Arkansas, or, if you will, dealing with a disabled person in Arkansas, that we really haven't touched on, what would you want that one more piece of information to be?
So basically, I want everyone to know our services are free, and if we can't help you, we have a resource. We have a referral, but please do not get mad at us if we aren't able to help with your particular situation. Remember, we have limited resources, we have limited funding, and we have limited staff. We will do everything we can to help you. Again, if we can't help you, we will give you a resource or referral or a way to move forward, and all our services are free.
All right. Jamie, anything you'd like to add to that? One more thing about either the group or about working with someone with a disability in Arkansas?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of my favorite things is, you don't realize until it happens to you or until it's somebody that you care about.
It could be you.
It could be you. And so, just remember to kind of treat anybody with that same compassion that you would want in that situation. And we love what we do, and we want to advocate for you. So be sure to give us a call.
Okay, well, give us the number. Give us the contact
absolutely.
information.
Feel free to give us a call anytime, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 at 501-296-1775. And again, that is 501-296-1775, or visit us online at disabilityrightsar.org.
Jamie Gardner, Amber Quaid, many, many thanks for gracing this week's It Could Be You with your presence. Again, you are signed up to come back on later in the year. We are going to be having a lot more to talk about, but thank you for being on this week's program.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate
thank you
it.
so much.